Like, I messed up. I didn't come over on defense or whatever it was. And then nobody say nothing, so I'm thinking that nobody noticed.
Yeah.
But no, everybody noticed. They just said, like, okay, we're not going to put him in right there. He's not good at that spot or that rotation. But I'm like, well, if y'all would have told me, somebody would have told me, then I would have done it better.
We're on the same page. We're both trying for the same thing. There's always frustration for players, when they go out of the starting lineup. That's not unique to anybody.
It feels like such a waste.
He's too good. He's too talented.
Yeah, figure it out.
Playing, to be getting benched.
Things aren't looking too good for the Golden State Warriors. The team has recorded their third straight loss with seemingly no recourse. Their record is back down to 500 despite a mostly healthy squad missing only Jonathan Kuminga and DeAnthony Melton. This has left a few people scratching their heads. When asked why they lost their latest game, the players and head coach seem to be worried about completely different things.
What's most disappointing about a game like tonight?
There's some untimely defensive breakdowns. They couldn't get a rebound. Just defensively, we didn't, together as a unit, didn't do enough to give ourselves a chance down the stretch.
We're just not guarding nobody because you're not taking anything away. You're not taking the paint away. You're not taking away layups, free throws, lobs, threes. Tonight they was getting whatever shot they wanted.
I think we're going to be just fine defensively. I'm not worried about our defense. I'm more worried about our offense right now. Not a whole lot of rhythm, not a lot of flow. So what hurt us really was the second chance stuff.
Butler and Curry cited the team's defense, while Steve Kerr spoke about the offense and lack of flow. Kerr's comment is particularly interesting, as this is how he described the offense with Jonathan Kuminga on the floor, as opposed to him sitting on the bench or being unavailable. Kuminga, who missed yet another game with bilateral knee tendonitis, wasn't able to impact the game or disrupt the flow, so finding the embedded issue becomes a bit more difficult. With 38 points from Curry, 28 and 5 from Butler, and a solid 20 points and 3 steals from Pods, the analysts now have to muddle through the fine details in pinpointing what went wrong for Golden State, and is this issue one that is long-standing? Besides the obvious size difference between the Warriors and the Blazers, well, actually, is that all it actually is? The Warriors were out-rebounded 52-32, and there's no bigger indicator for a size difference than the amount of rebounds a team gets. Sure, rebounding takes effort, but there's only so much your smaller players are going to do against Portland's length. With Moses Moody on POA, his struggles defensively were highlighted by a minus 15 on the night. While that in particular isn't a long-term issue, it highlights what is, that the Warriors are lacking in these two specific areas. The good thing about it, however, is they're easily fixed. The bad? Are the Warriors actually willing to fix it? Check ball. While we've been following the Warriors, I've realized that some topics end up mirroring too closely others we've covered in the past. So in order to give you guys more diversified content, I'll be pivoting a bit to topics not specifically related to the games, and also include a variety that covers some of the other things happening in the league.
10 minutes into the game, George is 4 for 4 from 3, wide open shots. So we just lost our focus, and I just wanted to gently remind them that we needed to focus more.
The Warriors do have the ability to compete at a high level, but unless there are fundamental changes made to their approach, it's unlikely this happens. The team philosophy is built around the coach's expectations of the players instead of what the players themselves bring to the team. Plugging players into specific, already defined roles can work for some players, but not all of them. Additionally, a revolving door of responsibilities or roles not only makes things more difficult, these players end up being lost on the floor. If you understand the psychology of the human mind and what it takes to unlock the genius within an individual, this isn't difficult to understand. Brain scans of individuals performing at the highest levels show less activity than less skilled individuals performing similar tasks at a lower level. This means that individuals who have unlocked a genius level of ability don't need to think about what they're doing nearly as much as an individual still trying to get there. Let's use a simple example. Typing. I can type between 90 and 120 words per minute, with bursts even higher than that. That's up to 2 or more words per second. That is too fast to think about what I'm doing. By the way, post your typing speed in the comments below. I'm curious to see where you guys land on the spectrum. Now, in order to accomplish this typing speed, I have to rely on muscle memory and instinct. Each word that comes up on my screen is a pattern that I've already committed to muscle memory. As fast as I type, if I'm typing a completely new word, it's going to slow me down quite a bit because this is a new, unestablished pattern. The pattern could even extend to multiple words if I've typed the sequence before, which again further enhances my typing speed. So how does this apply to Steve Kerr's coaching philosophy? To get to the NBA level, you've most likely achieved a genius level of ability. Like an expert typist, you don't think about what you're doing. You don't think about the game. You just play. Herein lies the problem. The Golden State Warriors are a very well-run organization from the top all the way down to the individual players. Coming into this facility where they take everything into account in order to maximize their player production while minimizing injuries, their drafting and scouting is right there with the best in the league. Put simply, they have a particular way of doing things. Steve Kerr is no exception. Everyone is trusted to do the jobs that they do, and with 4 rings as the head coach of the franchise, no one in the organization is going to question him or his philosophy. The problem is, just like the experienced typists, new words or players are going to be difficult for Steve Kerr. The simple solution, instead of incorporating this new word and adapting a new pattern, he looks at already established words to find whatever's closest that he can replace it with. For example, Jonathan Kuminga is now Sean Marion, but that comp doesn't quite fit into Kerr's offense. Who does? Draymond Green does. So now Kerr plays JK behind Green and tries to get him to play that particular game. Brandon Podziemski is now Jordan Poole. That clearly doesn't work. Moses Moody might be the closest fit where Kerr puts him in the role of Klay Thompson. Despite being in year 5, this is a bit of a task considering the different circumstances they were drafted into. While Klay was drafted to a team that had 23 wins, Moses Moody was drafted to a team that already had its identity, and that identity didn't exactly have room for him. His development arc would stall as his true position as a shooting guard was compromised. He would come off the bench behind a Hall of Famer, and vets, minutes would be sparse. Poole, being the luckiest of the bunch, was drafted to a team that was missing both starting guards, and even then struggled to earn the leeway from coaching to develop into the player we saw him eventually become. Looking at the minutes distribution shows both lottery picks Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody ranking near the bottom in minutes played. This prevented the type of development, that is 30 plus minutes per night in a defined role, that these guys needed in order to have their best chances of making a splash at the next level. I shouldn't have to explain why it's crucial to get them this experience as early as possible. Each year without reps sets these young players back exponentially. Furthermore, they're being pigeonholed into these roles. That is to say that these roles end up defining these players instead of the players themselves finding their place in the league and then becoming role players at what they're actually good at if they don't pan out to be star-level players. One glaring example is the recent development of Ryan Rollins, who was buried on the Warriors roster only to find a team willing to invest in him in Milwaukee. As their starting point guard, he's averaging almost 19 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds per game in 32 minutes. With Giannis being in and out of the lineup, the team is still struggling to stay at 500. But this is only the beginning for the 23-year-old Rollins. One has to wonder if Rollins could have found the success he's had with Milwaukee while here with the Warriors. However, the track record might say otherwise. On the other hand, the Warriors do have a player that they chose as a successor to the immediate aftermath of the trade of Rollins and Jordan Poole. That player is Brandon Podziemski. Pods played well enough in the loss against the Portland Trailblazers and might be out of his slump. But outside of a handful of performances, he just hasn't given the Warriors what they've needed the most when they've needed it the most. And that is for him to step up and be a first, second, or third option without Steph Curry. Now, this isn't the team or fans placing a burden on Pods as much as it is the desire he expressed in becoming that for the team. As he navigates his 3rd year, despite playing more minutes and ranked higher on the minutes totem pole than Moody, Kuminga, and everyone not named Jimmy or Steph, as of late, despite his struggles, it doesn't seem he will become what the team needs in the absence of Steph. What he is, and has shown himself to be, however, is a player that can fit between the cracks and help raise the floor of a team. Unfortunately for Pods, the physical tools he needs to really make an impact evade him, and until he's able to master the ability to dribble through traffic and draw contact alongside his pull-up game, he will continue to struggle. There have been subtle improvements in his ability to draw fouls in the paint, which will significantly improve his game. But the likelihood of that becoming successful under Kerr is slim, as it requires him being comfortable taking mid-range shots. Well, actually, Kerr might not mind. What was generally understood as a preference for vets has now been somewhat redefined, with Pods as a rookie instantly becoming a staple of the Warriors' rotation playing starters minutes. Despite him not being in the starting lineup, he still remains one of Kerr's core go-to guys. He's the perfect example of a supporting cast, aka role player, that seemingly does everything Steve Kerr likes, and as such, Kerr attempts to give him an increasingly larger role. The inherent problem is that at this juncture, it's hard to argue for Pods maintaining such a role, as it has repeatedly not led to winning. Regardless of the changes Kerr makes, this one thing remains constant, and that is Pods being the Warriors' third option behind Steph and Jimmy. While it likely isn't acknowledged anywhere else, Pods might have a huge bearing on Steve Kerr's future with the franchise. If this pick doesn't pan out, it could be the death knell to Kerr's tenure as the Warriors' head coach. His unwillingness to adapt and only prioritize players that fit into unique roles around a formula that worked a decade ago could be his undoing. Instead of utilizing the same starting five, that being his 5 most talented players, and letting these guys figure out what works best for them, he's imposed his rigid criteria instead. The last thing he does, however, dwarfs everything else I've said. That is, when other teams figure out Steve's lineups and counter, instead of sticking with his guys and coming back with a counter of his own, Steve puts a different player in the lineup. The bane of his coaching has always been his adjustments, and that's because there aren't any. If what he has on the floor doesn't work, he plays roulette on the bench until something hits. The Warriors can continue to change personnel, and some might even give the team a great opportunity to win some stretches, such as a backup point guard, a big that rebounds and defends, and maybe between the two, a player that can guard the point of attack. But unless Kerr makes the philosophical change, or the team does it for him, the result is likely to be the same this year as it was last. But let me hear what you guys have to say. What are some changes you propose to help this team become contenders? Are the Warriors capable of winning with Steve Kerr without any fundamental philosophical changes, or is there a trade that you think could resolve the issue? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish.